part 2 of my conversation with Frida Polli, CEO and co-founder of Pymetrics. Welcome back, Frida.
Thank you, Leighanne.
So at Workday, we feel a responsibility to help our customers, a leadership responsibility to help our customers address the skills gap, right? And it is through that mandate or that mission that we became attracted to Pymetrics. And with Workday Ventures, so Workday Ventures is our, as you know, a $250 million ventures fund that we're dedicating as an innovation arm to help extend Workday's R&D, but also to create an ecosystem around Workday of innovative solutions that are complementary to our product offering and that our customers want access to. And in doing so, we're building a partnership and an integration with the portfolio companies, and it's really exciting.
Yeah, definitely.
So, you know, how do you see Workday Ventures and being a Workday partner and a Workday portfolio company really helping advance the mission of Pymetrics?
Well, I mean, I think, look, you guys have created an outstanding product that your customers love. And as a result of that, I think you have a community of customers that's really loyal to the platform. And I think that for us, that's an attractive, a community to be a part of, right? Because we believe that we also have a product that I think clients, albeit a much smaller set, is very loyal to.
They want, and they want us to work with you.
Yeah, and so I think that that's great. And I think that obviously it allows greater exposure for us. But at the end of the day, Leighanne, I think what's cool is that you guys have a very unique value prop. We have a totally different complementary orthogonal one, and I think that that's where great partnerships can be built.
And so how does Pymetrics really help companies address the skills gap?
The way that I think we help with this overall problem, right, of matching talent to the right role is that instead of looking at talent signals like, you know, where you went to school or, you know, what you got your degree in or what your previous job was, all of these sort of resume facts. We look at your cognitive and emotional traits and say, based on these traits, what do we know from all of the data that we have that you would be a good fit for? Right. And so we know that about an individual. And then the way we work with a company is we'll actually go in and we'll use our platform to understand the cognitive and emotional traits that are driving high performance in a particular role at a particular company. So we benchmark on high performers in a company in given roles. And that's how we build our algorithm that will then help us identify people that are either outside of the company and looking to apply, or even people within the company that are in a different role that have the same traits as people that are performing well in the particular role that a company is trying to hire for. So that's how it is. It's basically pattern matching and really understanding a fundamental cognitive and emotional fit for a role rather than relying on signals that research has shown us at the end of the day don't predict nearly as well as we think they do.
Let's talk about getting more of the same, or even having some inherent bias in there. How do you prevent that notion of, okay, here's what success looks like, let's go out and find more of the folks from Harvard, right? You know, and get that. How do you prevent that bias in?
Well, I think that we have to think about two things separately. There's bias, and then there's, you know, what we call job-related skills and aptitudes, right? Whenever we build a model, we're taking traits that are separating out people that are successful in a role versus not. Because I think we would all agree that there's certain things that are more likely to make someone successful in role A versus role B, right? What you don't want is the bias of like, oh, you know, Leighanne, you went to this school, I went to this school, that must mean something about you. Let me hire you based on that. That has no relevance as far as we can tell as to your potential aptitude for a role. But that is unfortunately how a lot of hiring gets done, is sort of this bias, unconscious bias, conscious bias that people have about what it means to go to a certain school or have been in a previous role or whatever the things are that we're looking for in a resume without anyone actually fact-checking to make sure that those things are relevant for the job. So that's one way that I think we remove bias. And then the other thing we haven't really talked about, but that was very important to us when we built Pymetrics, was we actually, after we build an algorithm off of people that are performing well in the role, we actually go back and we'll test on a reference group of people, is this algorithm more likely to recommend men than women, or people of Caucasian background?
You're
than
checking the
non-ethnic?
bias.
We are.
You're checking the math. You're not overly rotating for the math.
That's right.
Yeah.
We're basically checking the algorithm once it's complete and saying, is there a bias in this algorithm? And we've actually open sourced this. It's called Audit AI. It's on GitHub. Anyone can go find it. And through that process, we can determine whether an algorithm is showing bias. And if it is, what we'll do is we'll essentially go back, and of the 70 to 90 features that we'll have included in the algorithm, we'll go back and we'll essentially de-weight one or a few of the features that are causing that bias until we can say, hey, this algorithm is now free of any gender and ethnic bias. So not only are we removing bias that people have towards, pedigree of a certain kind, but we are also actively removing gender and ethnic bias through this auditing process that we've developed.
There's so many aspects of our Workday story that I sort of, cling on to or hang on to that make me stay here and enjoy my experience. But one of them is we started with this idea that if you put people at the center of enterprise software, they're going to, drive new levels of engagement, help the company perform. But it also is a way to build an excellent culture, right? And this is a way to start the engagement of people, building an excellent culture on the front end, how you treat them, at the beginning. And, our mission now is, companies they're in this, they have the skills deficit, to become the digital companies they want to be regardless of industry. They are looking at their talent practices, they're inspecting them, they're saying same old doesn't work. What can we do different? And Workday obviously wants to be part of the solution.
For sure.
And it is part of that mandate is really what drew us to Pymetrics and to your innovative solution. And from an applicant standpoint, if you're applying and they happen to use Workday Recruiting, you're in the application and right in line, right in context, be moved over to the Pymetrics solution, take the game, understand it, and then be part of the overall application experience that's facilitated by Workday. I mean, it's that deep level of integration, which I think will really help our shared customers.
And I think that one thing we haven't really touched upon, and I think this is actually one of the harder things to break, and one of the things that we're very committed to solving. So again, remember, I started Pymetrics watching recruiting as a job seeker, right? I mean, I didn't think I wanted to go work at some of these big companies, but that was my perspective. And I saw all of the pain that students felt, right? Like, these are smart people, and they had to literally go through the same repetitive application process, and 9 times out of 10 they were getting rejected because those are the numbers, right? Like 90+% of people get rejected from any job that they apply to. So it does feel very dehumanizing and very cold, right? And so one of our biggest challenges that we've put on ourselves is to essentially make the candidate experience less like a job application experience and more like a career search experience. We do it in 2 ways. One is that if you apply to a role at the company and you don't fit to that role, you then automatically get the opportunity to apply to other roles using that same exact gameplay that you've already done. So it's very efficient. I apply to marketing, I'm not a good fit for marketing, but hey, I'm told that I'm a great fit for supply chain. Do I want to apply for supply chain? So there's already that sort of what we call sorting within a company. And it helps the candidate because, again, they may not know, hey, I'm actually a better fit over here than over here. And it helps the company because they've gotten all these people to apply to them, but they're only evaluating them in the current process for one role when they should really be evaluating them holistically for any potential role. But then even better than that, we think, is that we've created an ecosystem of clients that are candidate-centric, and that if the candidate says, I'm not interested in anything but marketing at this company, I don't want to apply to these other ones, what else is there? They actually, our companies will allow their candidates to be put into sort of a, talent ecosystem that can then rematch them to other clients, which we think is pretty amazing that people are allowing that to happen, because historically that was not the way people thought about, people that had applied to them. But I think it speaks to the fact that I think more and more companies really want to make the candidate experience less one of just cold rejection and one of actually trying to help that person find their right fit. And to me, that's, I think, one of the most powerful aspects of what technology can and should do. We like to say we'd like to make the resume obsolete. We'd also like to make the rejection letter obsolete. I think that would be amazing, right? So that instead of a rejection letter, you get, hey, Leighanne, this isn't the right opportunity, but we have 3 more over here you're a great fit for. How much more humanizing would that be?
Thank you so much for this
Absolutely.
conversation,
Yeah.
for being here, the cool solution that you are offering today, but even more than cool, it's positive business outcomes.
Yeah.
We love that too.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Leighanne, for having me.
And thank you all for joining us today.